You've learned poi extensions, now what comes next? Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain, and today, we're going big. Real big. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flowfests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these amazing businesses and what they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this video. And special thanks to non-business friends of the channel, Johnny Howard and Lain Mochinsky. Thank you both so very much for your support for my work and my mission. So we've all been there. We've spent a bunch of time learning a new poi trick, and when we get there, we feel a rush of accomplishment. And then we look at all these other tricks out there and think, oh my goodness, do I have to go invest that much time in all of them? And the good news is, once you learn a new trick, there's usually several other variations that are relatively easy to attain with the knowledge that you've already put in there. So that's the purpose of this series. It's not quite a tutorial, it's not a combo, it's what comes next. It's how you can get the most out of what you've already learned. And this video comes as a request from Michael D'Agostino, one of many he left actually, and I'm interpreting a little bit here, but I hope you don't mind. Extensions was what inspired me in this particular thing, so that's where we're going with it. If you had a different idea in mind for where to take this, please let me know in the comments. So we don't normally think of extensions as being like a dedicated poi trick unto itself. It's really just the act of extending the arm and hand and poi in one continuous long length. And it also creates the biggest circles that we possibly can with our poi. Now, it doesn't take a lot to learn how to do an extension, but what can we do with them? So I'm going to give you my top 3 suggestions on what you should learn after you pick up your basic extensions. Some of these are ways of adding more visual interest to tricks that you might already know, and some of them I think are just really cool ways to make a big splash with a big type of movement. By far, one of my favorite poi tricks that can be done with extensions is something that I was originally taught under the name Giants. I don't know if they have a formal name elsewhere in like a standard poi training rubric, but Giants is the name that I associate with them. Giants essentially consist of a set of split-time same direction reels that are performed at the base of the shoulders. Now, normally when we do reels, we're doing them from a place where the wrists or hands are in control. This is done from a full arm place. And it should be said, this is a huge trick. There are few tricks I can think of that make as big an impact visually than this one. It's very hard to take up more space with the poi. And honestly, it makes for some really great movements when you're performing, especially if you have to make a big impact in a very, very large space. Should also be said, these are a helpful tool for learning how to do behind the back weaves because they force you to move your torso back and forth in a way that's conducive to opening up little windows to get the poi through. Definitely a fun trick and one that turned out to be more useful than I would have imagined. Next up, we're going to talk about a variation on the windmill called Poitruvian Man. Now, this is a variation that Nick Woolsey made famous several years ago by essentially turning what is a trick that's localized around the head and shoulders into one that has these very broad strokes with the arms. Really, the visual impact of this can't be understated. At this point, Poitruvian Man, in a lot of respects, is kind of considered more or less synonymous with the windmill, just it's using it in broader strokes. But I think that this is a very specific use for extensions because, of course, it wouldn't work without performing extensions across the front, and thus that's why it makes the list here. Once again, extensions are great for providing an incredible visual impact. They take up so much room and they really register with people from quite a distance. You may find this trick is actually a little bit challenging to pull off in a small space like mine, but it's still totally worth it. Highly recommended. And before I drop my final pick for you for what comes next after you learn extensions, I have a big favor to ask. If you've come this far, it probably means that you are into poi spinning and learning about poi tricks. And if that's the case, I've got great news for you. My channel is all about that. If you could, please give my channel a subscribe, and that way you will be the first to know whenever I upload a new video. If you could, pretty please leave me your suggestions for what tricks I should cover next in my What Comes Next series. Most of these videos come from suggestions by people like you. So keep them coming so I can keep delivering you all the videos that'll help you on your journey. And now my number 1 pick for what comes next after you learn extensions, the first hybrid that I ever learned, static spin versus extension. Okay, I know that it seems like I just raised the difficulty level by quite a bit, but stick with me here for a second. So here's the thing. If you can already keep your arms going in extensions in together same, you're most of the way to getting down this trick. All you have to do is pick one hand that's going to kind of move on over and wind up more or less pinned to the opposite shoulder. Once you do that, the timing is identical. All it is switching from an extension to a static spin and trying to keep that line intact as it goes around. Definitely a great way to start to get into the realm of hybrids, and let's face it, it looks pretty cool. So I'm putting it down as my #1 pick for what comes next after you learn extensions. Did you like my picks? Are there things that you think I should have put on this list that I didn't? Please leave me a comment and let me know. I would love to hear your suggestions. This video would not be possible without the kind support of all of these amazing people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon, and they, along with the people listed down in the description, helps make all the videos on this channel possible. If you would like to support me in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the wider world and help people connect with their brains and their bodies through prop spinning, I would really appreciate it. Here's how you can do that. Head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You can do that either by clicking on the link that I've got down in the description or by clicking on the card that just popped up if you're watching on YouTube. There you can get access to a whole host of awesome rewards such as early access to my content or exclusive lessons that get delivered weekly to your inbox that are only available to my Patreon subscribers. Go check that out, and I hope you sign up. Thanks so much in advance. Cool, so I have some marks on the ceiling that I need to go clean up now. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this, and I hope you all out there find some use for these extensions. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to include a link to a playlist of other What Comes Next videos that I've done down in the description as well as up on screen if you are watching on YouTube. Make sure to get out and flow today. I highly recommend playing around with extensions outside rather than in. See where they lead you. Have yourselves a good weekend, and I'll see you with a new video on Monday. Peace.